Wave 6 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe game released a year ago. I'm going to fix the Booster Course Pass because the Booster Course Pass is pretty broken. There's 3 rules that I'm going to follow. Number 1, every single Tour City and every single Tour Nitro must be in this pass. The second rule, every game except for Tour can only have 1 course in it per wave. And the third rule is that every track I pick must also appear in Tour. Starting off with Wave 1, the Golden Dash Cup still starts with Paris Promenade. The second course is no longer Toad Circuit because Toad Circuit bad. Okay, Toad Circuit bad and stupid and dumb. So Mario Circuit is in its place. 3DS Mario Circuit. It's a better track, but it also serves the same purpose as being like a grassy circuit track. It's even from the same game. Like, I don't even know why they didn't pick it in the first place, because Toad Circuit is just so bland and boring that it's a wonder that they even decided to include it at all. Moving over for Wave 2 is Calamari Desert. This replaces Choco Mountain. Because I just don't think Choco Mountain really needed a remake. I've replaced Choco Mountain with a different track later on that I think deserved a remake way more than Choco Mountain did. But Calamari Desert, it's like, okay, it puts the lap changing track in Wave 1. It kind of increases the quality of Wave 1. Like, these tracks are not just going to be straight ports of the original tracks, even though this gimmick was also in Tour. So I guess it kind of is a straight port from Tour, but they combined the two, Calamari Desert, Calamari Desert 2, whatever. Calamari Desert. The last track is Piranha Plant Pipeline. Yep, all the way up from Wave Nothing to Wave 1. Piranha Plant Pipeline. I have all of the Tour Nitros ending the first cup of each wave, except for one example, because there's 7 Nitros and only 6 waves. So one wave is going to have 2 Nitros, and as such, the second Nitro is going to end the second cup, because that just makes sense. But other than that, every Nitro ends the first cup. Starting off the second cup is New York Minute. I didn't remove Tokyo because I can't, based on my rule. I just swapped Tokyo and New York Minute because I think it's better to start with the most recognizable cities. Like, Tokyo is a recognizable city, but not as much as Paris and New York. So starting off with 2 still relatively simple city tracks still makes sense for Wave 1. It just makes sense. And I know London is a more recognizable city than Paris is, according to this Google list, but Paris is a lot more simple, and it actually introduces you to the whole gimmick of city courses a lot better than London does. So that's why I picked Paris and New York over like something like London and New York. The second track of this cup, which a little bit of a spoiler, I'm renaming from the Lucky Cat Cup to anything else because I've removed both Tokyo Blur and Ninja Hideaway from this cup, so I don't think it really makes sense for it to be called the Lucky Cat Cup anymore, because Lucky Cat is like a thing from Japan, and neither Japanese track is in this cup anymore. So the next track is GBA Cheap Cheap Island. Don't worry, Shroom Ridge is still here, it's just been moved to the 3rd slot. So why Cheap Cheap Island instead of Sky Garden? Well, Sky Garden just fails to work as a remake and as a track in itself. If you separate this track from Sky Garden, you get just a mid-Cloud Top Cruise ripoff. You get
Lakitu Raceway.
You don't get a good track. If you separate the Cheap Cheap Island Tour remake from Cheap Cheap Island, you still get a track that's pretty good, even though it is massively simplified from the original GBA version and is basically as simplified as Sky Garden, if not more simplified in scaling as well, but I think it works better as a remake and also as an original track than Sky Garden does. So Shroom Ridge is the next track, as I said before. This is going to be the BCP Reforged version because I think that the original Shroom Ridge from the Booster Course Pass looks fine enough. The grass, I like how the grass looks. I think the color of it is nice, but I don't like how it's untextured. So I think you should just use the BCP Reforged version to make the tracks, match the base game level of quality. You just copied it from Tour. Like, come on, I don't know, texture the grass a little bit, like give it a texture instead of just being a flat color with a normal map on it. But the last track is Coconut Ball, moving over from the end of the Golden Dash Cup. It makes sense to end with a fan favorite, and also Coconut Mall is like the Wii track. If you think of Mario Kart Wii, you're thinking of Coconut Mall, and I just don't think it makes sense to remove it, even if it has been nerfed from the original. People are like, the only thing wrong with this is that the escalators are conveyor belts, and it's like, no, the whole aesthetic is off. Like, this is what Coconut Mall looks like in the Wave 1 trailer, and this is what Coconut Mall looks like in-game. They made it so much more orange for no reason. It doesn't feel like a mall anymore when it's just so saturated. The Miis are gone, so it feels empty. They didn't even replace it with like Piantas or Shy Guys or anything. The mall is empty. But I digress. I included it anyway because it's a fan favorite, and it's still a good track. Like, it's not S tier, but it's at least B tier. So, hi, just a quick voice note here. My editing software, Clipchamp, crashed, and that was the last straw, so I'm never using Clipchamp again. So I've switched this over to a new editing software. So if the text is a different font and things are different, it's because I've switched video editors midway through the video. For Wave 2, the Turnip Cup has Tokyo Blur, because I can't get rid of Tokyo Blur, even though it's not good. The second track is Daisy Circuit from Wii. Wii Daisy Circuit is here because not only is it like a pretty good visually looking track and a pretty good circuit track, all things considered, it's a Wii track, but also because for the next Mario Kart game, there's 5 options for unremade Wii tracks to pick from, and those are Luigi's Circuit, Mario Circuit, Toad's Factory, Dry Ruins, and Bowser's Castle. And if you don't include Daisy Circuit in the Booster Course Pass, then you have 6 options for unremade Wii tracks, and 3 of them are circuits, and that is just a terrible look for the best-selling Mario Kart game besides Mario Kart 8. Hence why they included Daisy Circuit in the original Booster Course Pass, and why I'm including it in my fixed Booster Course Pass. This also goes for DS Mario Circuit. There's 4 options for DS tracks if you didn't include Mario Circuit in the past, and 2 of them would be Figure 8 Circuit, the worst track ever, and Mario Circuit. And then the other 2 are Bowser's Castle and Rainbow Road, hence why they included Mario Circuit in the Booster Course Pass. So, Daisy Circuit, but I've moved it up from Wave 6 because that's just ridiculous. So, it's gonna sit here in Wave 2. DS Waluigi Pinball is the 3rd slot. It's fan favorite. Waluigi Pinball gets to stay. The last track is Sky High Sunday, moving over from the 2nd cup, because I moved every Tour Nitro to the 1st cup except 1. Now, I would give you my general opinion on this track, but it's the same one you've probably heard a million times. It's kind of just mid. It's an oval. So just moving on to the Propeller Cup. Starting off is Berlin Byways. Why? I don't know. I just feel like it makes more sense for Berlin Byways to be here. I've moved Sydney Sprint out of this cup to the Boomerang Cup because why wasn't the Australia track in the Boomerang Cup in the first place? So I've moved Berlin Byways here. Now that I've got to the Traffic City course, I realized that I should have specified that New York Minute should really have traffic, because it just makes sense for New York to have traffic. I just still moving cars, which I guess is kind of accurate to New York City, but there's no moving cars at all, and that feels like a waste. So keep the cars in Berlin, but also move them over to New York. And then also make the track take place at night, because that just makes more sense, and it fits the music better. So the second track is still GBA Snowland. I see no reason to remove it. It's a perfectly serviceable Super Circuit remake. But the third track is no longer Mushroom Gorge. It's GCN Mushroom Bridge, because we had to wait too long. We had to wait 4 waves for a Double Dash track, which is wild. So Mushroom Bridge gets to be here in Wave 2. The tour version looks great except for the grass. You can probably fix the grass. The last track, moving up from Wave 4, is Yoshi's Island. I've moved this to Wave 2 instead of keeping it in Wave 4 because every other wave is just like packed full of tracks, except Wave 6, spoiler. But every wave is like packed full of tracks, so I kind of just had to move Yoshi's Island to like wherever I could fit it, and that just happened to be the end of Wave 2. Wave 3, the Rock Cup. London Loop gets to stay because it's rock music and it's the Rock Cup. GBA Boo Lake gets to stay as well because I think this is a phenomenal remake. A-tier track, amazing. Everything about this is pretty good. I just wish it was a longer track. It's pretty short, but like that's just a symptom of being in Super Circuit. The next track is Maple Treeway, replacing Rock Rock Mountain, just moving up one slot. Rock Rock Mountain is gone because it just looks awful, and the gliding physics in this game just don't work as well as they do in 7, and gliding is just a lot more fun in 7. When people say that, I was like, they're exaggerating. Then I got a 3DS in 7, and no, gliding is so much more fun and better in 7 than it is in 8. To the point where Rock Rock Mountain in 8 is just not a fun track to play anymore, because it's like 50% of it is gliding, and the gliding is just worse. This is still called the Rock Cup because London Loop is here. Just a little bit of side changing. I'm looking at you, Albert Boris. It is not called Alpine Pass. It is called Rock Rock Mountain. And it's called Rock Rock Mountain because of the boulder section, you know, rocks. And also the genre of music, rock music. It doesn't make sense for there to be rock music on a track called Alpine Pass. But speaking of mountains, the last track is Merry Mountain. And all the Tour Nitros are at the end of the first cup. Moving on to the Moon Cup, Bangkok Rush. How many times can I say Bangkok as I go through this? So Bangkok is moving over from Wave 4 to Wave 3. This track in particular really suffers from being in Tour first, because the way they ported it to a Deluxe, some parts of the track are super narrow. Like any of the tram tracks are just like super narrow, and you're not even going to go up there. I moved this out of the Boomerang Cup so Sydney Sprint could be there, because once again, the Australia track should be in the Boomerang Cup. The second track is still DS Peach Gardens. People removed this from their fixed versions, namely Pokemichael, because the lap changing was controversial upon release, apparently. I wasn't really in the Mario Kart fandom around the time of Wave 3. I had just gotten the Switch. But personally, I think the lap changing is a good feature, and I think this is a good track, so it should stay. The next track is Bowser Castle 3, because we needed more Bowser's Castles in the Booster Course Pass. We only got one, and it was this one, so I'm moving this one up to Wave 3, and I'm going to put another one in Wave 6. So the last track is still 3DS Rainbow Road. I see no reason to remove it. It works perfectly fine. I also see no reason to move it to Wave 6 and put Wii Rainbow Road here. I think this works fine as a Wave 3 ender, and Wii Rainbow Road works fine as a Wave 6 ender. I have one ask, though. Please make the road less blue. They put like a 15% blue opacity filter on the Rainbow Road, and it just doesn't look like a rainbow anymore, especially from a distance. It just looks blue-green. And I have one other ask, and that's to make the moon version of the song ambient again, or I guess the Lunar Surface is the official name based on Nintendo Music, but the 8 Deluxe version is just so not calming compared to the 7 version. Moving on to Wave 4, the Fruit Cup. Amsterdam Drift and Riverside Park get to stay. Daisy Cruiser is next, coming from Wave 5. I've just swapped this and Waluigi Stadium, and then moved Daisy Cruiser to the first cup because I think it makes more sense in the first cup. This was originally planned for Wave 4 anyway, and I think it just makes more sense to be here than Waluigi Stadium to be here. So Waluigi Stadium is in Wave 5, and this is in Wave 4. Hi, if you've made it this far, please like and subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful day. Ninja Hideaway is the next and last track here. I probably could have had Yoshi's Island stay here and just had Ninja Hideaway end on Wave 2, but I think Ninja Hideaway is too complex for Wave 2, so I've saved it for Wave 4, even though I just put a pretty simple and easy track right before it. But the Boomerang Cup has Sydney Sprint. I said it once, I said it twice, I'll say it again. Why wasn't the Australia track in the Boomerang Cup to begin with? DS Mario Circuit gets to stay because it's the same thing as Wii Daisy Circuit, where it's like, if you don't include DS Mario Circuit, there's 4 options for DS tracks in the next game, and 2 of them would be circuits, and that's just not a good look. Moving over from Wave 2 is Wii Mushroom Gorge. DK Summit is gone. I just don't think that the half pipes in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe work as well as they do in Wii, and DK Summit relies on half pipes the most. I know there's other tracks that have half pipes in them, like Piranha Plant Pipeline and Maple Tree Way, but those tracks do not rely on them as much as Wii DK Summit does. Hence why I just outright removed it. Singapore Speedway, one of, if not the best city track, still ends off Wave 4. I just think it's amazing. It's an amazing send-off to an amazing wave. Wave 5, the Feather Cup starts off with Athens Dash. Greece is associated with feathers, so Athens Dash gets to stay in the Feather Cup. Next up, N64 Koopa Troopa Beach. I personally like this track a lot more than Choco Mountain. The best version on the 3DS is A tier. I don't know why. When you look at it objectively, it's just like a beach track. But like, there's something about it. I don't know. I like it more than Choco Mountain, and I also like it more than Koopa Cape. I like the Wii version of Koopa Cape a lot more than this, but they just nerfed it in 7, and the improvements that they made in 8 don't save it for me, especially because they nerfed the hell out of the graphics. Waluigi Stadium got swapped with Daisy Cruiser because I think this is a harder track and it's a fan favorite, even though Daisy Cruiser is also a fan favorite. This is kind of a bigger fan favorite because it was also in Wii. So here it is in Wave 5 instead of Wave 4. It also gives them more time to work out the half pipes, even though other tracks had half pipes in the past, like Pipeline in Wave 1 and Treeway in Wave 3. This track relies on them the most. The last track is Piranha Plant Cove. Why wasn't Piranha Plant Cove in Wave 5 when PD Piranha as a character was in Wave 5? Why did they save Cove for Wave 6 and Squeaky Clean Sprint for Wave 5? I've just swapped them because I think that just makes more sense. Moving on to the Cherry Cup, Los Angeles Laps gets to stay, and Rome Avanti will be the last track. I didn't want to put Rome and Athens in the same wave because they're kind of similar, but they're not that similar, and also Vancouver just fits so much more in Wave 6 than it does Wave 5 in my opinion, hence why Rome is here. The second and third tracks of this cup are GBA Yoshi Desert replacing 5:30 p.m. Miles, because why would they put a desert track with a sunset in the game if they weren't going to make the sunset work? And there's already another desert track from the same game already in tour that has a remake that doesn't require a sunset that your lighting engine doesn't support. Why, Nintendo? And then the third track is the final DS track, Airship Fortress, because Airship Fortress should have really been here. Like I said earlier, Mario Circuit kind of had to be here, but having it be the final DS track is kind of just weird to just be like, here's Waluigi Pinball and Peach Gardens. That's all your fan favorites. You also get Shroom Ridge and Mario Circuit. So I've added Airship Fortress to soften the blow. Make sure that the lava is gone because it just kind of ruins the whole aesthetic of the track of being like spooky scary, but like not lava spooky scary, if that makes any sense. The final wave, Wave 6, starting off with Vancouver Velocity, as mentioned earlier. I just think it makes sense for the winter theme track to be in the winter wave. Even though Wave 6 kind of released in like fall, it's still cold enough for it to be like winter, I guess. It's winter adjacent. The next track is SNES Vanilla Lake 2. I needed a SNES track, and the only spot I had open was Wave 6. And I didn't want to put Choco Island 2 or Choco Island 1 or Koopa Beach 2 in here. So the only option was Vanilla Lake, and I picked Vanilla Lake 2. The tour version is still boring and flat, unfortunately. So if this was really in the Booster Course Pass, there would probably be little to no hope to improve it. But this is my version, baby. So give it that SNES Bowser Castle 3 goal. I'm running out of time to make this video, so we're going to speed run through these last few tracks. 3DS Wario Shipyard replaces Rosalina's Ice World because we already have 2 ice tracks in this wave. We don't need a third one. And also, Wario Shipyard is good, Rosalina's Ice World bad. The last track is Squeaky Clean Sprint because Piranha Plant Co. should have been in wave 5, so I had to move Squeaky Clean Sprint, which is really hard to save really fast, which sucks for me because I have to save things really fast now, in wave 6. So, moving on to the Spiny Cup, Madrid Drive is still here, and DK Mountain is no longer here because Dino Jungle is
the superior jungle, of course.
I've converted to the Albert Boris cult, and Dino Jungle is better than DK Mountain. GBA Bowser's Castle 4. This track works perfectly in Tour. That remake fits Tour perfectly. When I played it in Tour, I was like, wow, that just flows so nicely. But I don't think it would work in 8 Deluxe because of the scaling. When you port it directly, the track itself is too big, but if you try to make it smaller, then it's too small for the racers. So I think the size of the racers, proportionate to the track, works better in Tour than it does in 8 Deluxe. So I think modifications would be needed to make it fit in 8 Deluxe, but I think it can work. The last track is still Wii Rainbow Road. No notes on this track, so let's just get into the stats of my fixed version. 11 tracks were removed, those being Toad Circuit, Choco Mountain, Sky Garden, Mario Circuit 3, Rock Mountain, DK Summit, Moonview Highway, Sunset Wilds, Koopa Cape, DK Mountain, and Rosalina's Ice World. As such, 11 tracks were added, those being 3DS Mario Circuit, Piranha Plant Pipeline, Cheep Cheep Island, Mushroom Bridge, Koopa Troopa Beach, Yoshi Desert, Airship Fortress, Vanilla Lake 2, and Dino Jungle. I'm sure editing me put all of those tracks on the screen. Breaking it down by game, there were 2 SNES tracks, 2 N64 tracks, 6 GBA tracks, 4 GCN tracks, 5 DS tracks, 5 Wii tracks, 3 3DS tracks, and 14 Tour Cities and 7 Tour Nitros. So that's it for this video. Goodbye. But before you leave, support me on Patreon, please. I need money.